Hey guys, hey, it's John with ReelBlue Custom Rods, and today I am going to do a video on a complete kite rod build. And so some things that you're going to need to do a kite rod build, which is extremely easy. One is you need your blank for your kite rod. And so this is a Batson blank, almost like a gaff blank, if you will. But it's a 20-inch Batson blank. Then we'll be using a foam crosscut grip, 8-inch grip that I'm going to use for the forend. The other thing I will be using is a Winthrop kite rod tip top. So we'll be using this, and it's quite nice. It's really super heavy duty. It's really smooth. The line goes through there. Your kite line goes through there. And then the last thing that we'll be using is a AFCO 1 Unibutt with the detachable ferrule that comes off of that. And then we'll be using for thread work, we'll be using some what I call gunmetal color, basically some metallic red. This metallic gunmetal. We'll be using some red thread, and then we'll just be using some black thread and a little bit of black metallic thread. So those are the thread colors we're going to use. Again, this is a complete kite rod build in one video. It's really super easy. Just a blank, the unibutt, the tip top, the handle. No guides go on there. And then of course, you'll have your reel will go onto your reel seat, and your line, again, like a kite line will run up through your one tip top. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and take the ferrule to the unibutt, and then I'm going to set that onto the blank. And what I'm looking for here really is a measurement. And so what I want to do is I want to take my pen and I want to go basically underneath a little bit, past the inside of that ferrule, make a mark. And that might be hard to see. You can see that line right there. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come back with my masking tape. And then I'm going to take the masking tape and come underneath that mark I made with that red marker. I'm going to come under there just a little bit. And why I'm doing this basically is to give myself, one, I marked enough room for the ferrule to go on. Could you put the ferrule on first to the unibutt on the bottom of the blank? Yes, you could. Here's the deal. As you see, the bottom of the blank is open and the tip top of the blank is open, right? So what happens is when I put the tip top on here, which of course is a completely sealed tip top, what happens is if I put the tip top on first, or if I put the unibutt on first, right, that's going to, which is completely sealed as well, and at the bottom, it's going to trap the air. So for the ease of putting it on, the first thing that I will do, or the first thing that I will actually completely seal off, will be the tip top in with the tip top, right? So there's no need to drill through it. Basically, I just put on the tip top. That'll be secure. What will then end up happening is once the rod is completely built, the last thing I will add is the ferrule, and then I'll show you how to do that. We'll have to put a hole in the ferrule to actually release the air once we close it. All right, if not, the ferrule will continuously want to pop off once we're putting the glue on. Also, so one thing I want to point out is, so when I'm applying the tape, so you can have really a better understanding, remember that this forend EVA foam grip will come down to the edge of the tape, right? And so I want to make sure that I have a good line. So where what I don't want to happen is have the grip on here, something like this, and then the tape goes on, and then once you put the ferrule on, you come up and you end up having a gap on your finished product between the top of the ferrule and the grip. So a way to do that, is making sure that my ferrule goes on all the way past the tape mark. So again, when I put this grip on, it'll come down to the edge of the tape. So to ensure that everything will have a nice clean finish at the end, I want to make sure that the ferrule will go over the tape completely. Okay? All right. Now we're just going to continue to build up some tape. It's not a lot. Just want to get enough on here. I just want to get enough masking tape on here so when the foam grip comes down, it'll just stop up against there. I know that's my stopping point. All right, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to have to go ahead and ream out the 4-end cross-cut grip. Now the next thing I want to do, now that we have the EVA foam crosscut foregrip bored out or reamed out, now what we want to do is, because you have a very highly glossy and smooth surface on this kite rod, all I'm going to do to make sure I get good adhesion is I'm going to use a 3M pad, and so I'm just going to lightly rub this on the surface for the full length of the grip. And all I'm doing is just taking off some of that sheen and just making it a little rough so I'll have a good bond when I put that 2-part paste on there. And then you can see the difference where it's not so shiny and it's a little roughed out versus up here where it's super shiny, right? And again, the reason why we're doing it doesn't compromise the blank. We're just doing that to make sure we get good adhesion between with the 2-paste epoxy between the blank, the kite rod blank itself, and the actual foam grip. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and build up my 2-part epoxy. I like to use Pro Paste. Part A with a part B, so you have your resin and then you have your hardener. Your part B is your hardener. So it doesn't take a lot. So a little bit of the part A, again the resin. What I'll do is I'll come back and I'll clean off my little stick here. And I'll go back to the hardener, the part B. You can really use any type of 2-part epoxy. Again, I like this Pro Paste stuff. So equal amounts, 50-50. And all we do is just mix that together. And then all I'm going to do is kind of dollop that up and then come over to my blank here, the kite blank, and I'm just going to put this on that area that I roughed up with that 3M pad. Make sure I cover each part. I don't want to leave any part of the blank uncovered. And then what I like to do is get a little measure so I could still have to come up a little bit more with some of this epoxy. And if I go past where it'll be at, it is totally fine a little bit, you know. And what I mean by that is, you know, if I know the grip is going to be right here, if I go past where the tip of the grip is, that's fine, because I want to make sure I get good epoxy inside there. So now all I'm going to do is start twisting. Actually, what I want to do is just bring that down a little bit more. So you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. I'm just trying to make sure that I get good coat inside the grip. Back it up a little bit more. I'm getting ready to slide this thing all the way down. Again, I'm just trying to make sure I get enough of this paste all the way inside the foam handle, because that'll help make it go on, one, easier, but two, it'll make sure that I got good adhesion in there. I got a little bit of epoxy there on the handle that'll come off here in a second though. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and slide this handle on all the way down. All right, now what I'm going to do, reach over, grab some isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to start taking this epoxy off here, back where this tape is at. Now see how I'm starting to get that twisting? So get that epoxy off of the foam first. Then off of the tape. Just tearing up a couple shop towels here. So again, I'm just taking my alcohol, I'm cleaning up the foam grip, and I'm coming back over here cleaning off this tape. And I'm going to come back here and clean off this blank where the other end was at, just to make sure didn't have anything left over there. All right, now I'm going to find the working into that tape. I'm going to take a razor blade, and all I'm trying to do is make sure I get all of this tape off. Go on, back it off a little bit more. There we go. I wanted to back it off just a little bit more to make sure I get this tape off, and then what I'll do is I'll push it down just a tiny bit. Now I want to look for that mark a little bit, and I just want to go in just a little bit. And now we'll clean up this last end here with some alcohol. And that's it. The last thing I want to do is I just want to come back one last time and make sure that my unibutt ferrule will go ahead and slide on top of there and get a good seat all the way down to the foam grip, right? We don't want a gap when it dries like that. We want it to go all the way down. And so it looks like I'm pretty good. All right. And then one last time, we'll just clean everything up. Make sure we don't have any two-part paste or two-part epoxy anywhere. Clean off the grip. And we'll come back here to the fore end. All right, and then we're done. All right, so the next thing I'm going to want to do is add a winding check, and then we'll get the tip on. All right, so now I found my winding check that I'm going to go ahead and put on here. Basically slides over the top with some space, slide it down. You just want it to make sure it comes a little bit. You don't want it super loose. You want it to actually stop a little bit, and that way when you push it down, you'll close out, push down basically some of the epoxy down onto this, and you have a good tight snug fit. At least that's what I try to do. I could have went with a nice, trim aluminum type winding check, but to be commensurate with the rods that this is going on, or that the set of rods that this is going to complement, excuse me, I'm going to stick this way. So now that I have that on there, I can use my same just use the same stick. I'll just get that down. Oh, that one touched, so we'll put that one away. That one slipped down, touched the epoxy. Just push that winding check all the way down. All right. And the same thing, I'm just going to come back and clean that up with the shop towel and some of my isopropyl alcohol. Just taking my time. Taking my time using the shop towel with isopropyl alcohol, and then just wiping that on and make sure I get all that epoxy off of there, that adhesive, two-part adhesive. I'll come back over, make sure just got a good seat. All right. I'm just cleaning up the blank here, just wiping it down, make sure we don't have any adhesive on it. Going back, wiping down the winding check. And I'm just going to let this dry. And then when we come back, then we're going to go ahead and tackle the tip top. All right, guys, so now it's time to install the Winthrop Kite tip top. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to clean off the inside a little bit. And so what I like to do, basically, just a little bit of the alcohol, stick it down, the shop towel down inside. Give that a few turns. Try to pull all that stuff out, right? All that stuff that you don't want on there. That's going to get in the way of you having a good bond with your adhesive and the blank. So the first step is cleaning it out. Make sure you get a good clean product. You want to start with a good clean product, excuse me. All right, so now that we have that cleaned out, let that set down for a second. All right, and then the next thing we want to do, I'm going to actually do this real quick, but you can see where I was putting the tip top on just to kind of see where it was going to line up at. So I just want to clean that off first real quick, just to make sure I didn't get any of that gunk from the inside on there. We'll slide it on. And so then all I'm going to do is just take a marker so I know where my point is at, how far that's going to come down, which I can see is right there. And then, again, just to make sure I get good adhesive, I am going to take my 3M pad and I'm just going to rough that up from the tip down to that red mark. Just to make sure we get good adhesive. All right, now the difference here, when I put on the tip tops, I like to use, on my heavy builds, I like to use a 5-minute epoxy, especially for something like this where you're not going to be replacing the tip on a kite rod. I like to use a 2-part 5-minute epoxy by Flex Coat. It's a really great product. So the first thing I'll do is I'll get a little dab. And it does not take a lot, of course, just to do a tip top. So just mix those up. And then I like to put it on the inside of the tip top. That way when I slide it down over the blank, that way when I slide it down, and I'm just going to put a little bit at the very tip of the blank, but that way when I slide it down over the blank, you know, I'm not pushing it back over versus putting it on the rod. So just put it on. Make sure I'm getting a good coat. I want to come back, take it off of there. Got a little bit on the tip top. Okay, so remember, 5-minute epoxy, which means you have to work quick with it. So all I want to do now is I want to make sure that the tip top lines up. So right now the tip top's kind of sideways. If I want it lined up with the cross top on this rod, so I'm just going to rotate it to where it lines up. Remember, this hole is your top. This is your reel seat side or your reel side. So your line will come down from the reel, drop down through the hole in the kite. So I'm just making sure that's lined up how I want it. And just put some pressure on it. Again, this is 5-minute epoxy. So you don't have, I mean, 5 minutes is a lot of time. You know, if you're doing something simple like this, you know, it gives you time to manipulate the tip top and stuff. But remember, you don't want to wait the entire 5 minutes. You want to make sure you're working with it and getting it where you want as soon as you can. And that's it, 5-minute epoxy. So it'll be dry here in about another minute or so. And then we'll be good to go. Then the next thing we're going to start doing some of the thread wraps. So we have the grip, we have the winding check, and we have the tip top on. Remember, I wanted to seal the tip top first before I seal the butt, and we'll get to that when we put the ferrule onto the unibutt. But let's go ahead and get started with the thread work. Okay. All right, guys, so now what I'm going to be doing, we're going to start this thread work. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some tag wraps. And if you've seen some of my videos before, you know I mostly use the straw method when I'm doing my tag wraps. Although there are quite a few other ways to do it, this is the way I prefer. Get it down here to the end. Apply a little pressure. Pack that thread in there a little bit. All right. Now we'll come on with our second color. So if you guys, so you know while we're doing this thread work, so if this is your first time visiting my channel, thanks for visiting. And if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I post videos every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That way, when you turn on those notifications, you'll get notified that the video is up for that week, and you can go check it out. And also, if you like, the videos that I'm putting together, you like what you're seeing here, go ahead and hit the like button down there at the bottom. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. And, I do try to respond to everybody's comments pretty quickly. The quickest I can. So again, we're doing, this is a, start to finish build on a kite rod. So I'm just adding some tag wraps right now. All right, then we got to go with the black. So this kite rod will be going down to Cabo San Lucas, down in Red Rum Sport Fishing, or down to Red Rum Sport Fishing at Cabo San Lucas. All right. Okay, so that gets my 3 tag wraps on there that I want. About 2 inches. So measure that off there. I used to use a lot of Chinese grease pencil, Chinese markers. They got a wide variety of different names, but I used to use these a lot. I still do use these, the China marker. But I usually use those initially, and then I'll come back with a Sharpie. And the reason why is, although you can wrap over a mark that you make with your China marker, sometimes it tends to, like if you're using white, sometimes it'll tend to leave some of the residue from the China marker on there. So I've been using the China marker as an initial spot, and I'll come back with the Sharpie, make the mark, and then get rid of the China marker before I start doing wraps if I'm going to wrap over it. So just a technique. So I've got 2 inches that I'm going to go on there with this, again, I like to call it a metallic gunmetal color. This is going to be my base, if you will, or the color that I'm going to have, the backing color to the decals that are going to go on there. That way, it's a good color. It's not just, black. I mean, it's a dark color, but it's a good color. One, it matches with the scheme or the color scheme of the rod. But 2, it does allow for the other colors in the decals to really pop and stand out on top of it. So it kind of serves 2 purposes there, really. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready to tie that off. At a minimum, I like to do about 5 or 6 wraps. I'm going to do a few more than that with this one, just because where I'm wrapping to this mark. One more. All right. All right, so come back through the loop. And then pull that tight. And come back one more time with the burnishing tool. Little tug. All right. And then that's that for that portion. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back again with some tag wrap. This time we're going to pick back up with the black color. Slide it down again. That's my straw technique for tag wraps. It works. It's pretty effective. Again, it's not the only way to do it. It's just the way I like to do it. All right. Now we're going to come off with some of this. Make sure we're still lined up. Got the back side. All right. There we go. Tug. And then basically what I want to do is I want to start my dragon scale from here in red all the way up to the tip top. So it was flat. I cut an angle off, and you'll see why here in a second. Sorry, go off screen there for a second. So what I'll do, and then I think I want to come out about 3 back. And so what I'm doing is I'm making this a little narrower. You'll see here in a second. And the reason why I'm cutting some of this off, and it's probably going to have to be more, is because the diameter of the blank that I'm working with. So I cut the angle off. I try to lay that angle straight on the blank, and as you'll see here in a second, oh, not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm going to move it up just a tiny bit. That's where I want to start. And I take this and I'll wrap it over, and now you'll see how the tape basically wraps over and that will carry on all the way down to the end of the rod. So for right now, I'm just going to secure that with some tape down on this back end that you can't see, just to keep it in place, right? And so then that's what I end up looking for my dragon scale. So now I'm just going to come in here, start with my red thread. You got to be patient. Doing dragon scale, this technique, with the sheetrock mud tape, you just got to be patient. There again, like everything, there's a lot of ways to do a dragon scale wrap. You can do it just by making the marks with your thread, getting out and measuring, and then using your thread to make the cross pattern. But I like the mesh tape for 2 reasons. One, I like the size that it has, and 2, it's always symmetrical for the most part, right? And so This just takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. All right, so what I'll do is we're going to go ahead, since you can start to see how this is patterning out, we're going to go ahead and speed up. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button down there. Let me know what you think of the video, and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Talk to you down there in the messages and stuff. So let's go ahead and speed this up. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So now I'm going to introduce a couple of different colors of thread into this wrap. So I just took a pause there. And this is basically the midway point for this entire dragon scale wrap. And so I'm going to include these basically like tag wraps. So, all right, so I have those over. What I want to do is I just want to lock those down. So I'm just using this thread wrap, or this red thread, to go ahead and lock down these two other colors that I'm using, this black and basically the gunmetal color, if you will, from down here. And so I'm just trying to lock in these two threads that I inserted underneath the red. And as some of you know or may not know, this is where you start working with different or multiple pieces of thread. That's where things slow down a little bit when you're doing your wraps. So I'm getting kind of close. That's my middle or my halfway mark right there, that red mark. I don't want to go all the way to that because I'm using, again, two colors in the middle. So I just want to get close to it. And I think that's close enough right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the gunmetal colors. I'm going to lift these both up for a second. See what we got going on here. All right, there. So take out the gunmetal color, or the color I want to work with first. Lock the black back down. And then now all I'm going to do here is make a few wraps with this gunmetal color. So I think I'm going with 5 wraps with that. So now I'm just going to kind of lock this down with the red. You'll see what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to use the burnishing tool. Excuse me. Burnishing tool to push those back. Okay, so I'm going to back off with the red. There's one more strand of red. I want to back that off. All right, now I want to take this gunmetal color that I had and I want to come back up to the top. Centered, if you will. Now I'm going to release the second color, which is the metallic black thread. I'm going to release that from my tape. Now I'm going to go around with this one with some wraps. Again, 5 of these. 1, then back over the red there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now come and lock it down with the red. All right, so now that I got that held down with the red a little bit, just kind of want to move the thread with the burnishing tool a little bit. And again, the red's not doing anything for me right now. Design-wise, it's just helping me hold that black thread down. All right, now I'm going to take the working end of the black thread here, and I'm going to pinch this off where that black thread came in, and I'm going to pull that black line tight. Release the metallic. Secure the black. And now what I want to do is I want to black that red thread off again. And so now that red thread is backed off. So now make 5 more wraps. The gunmetal thread, 1, 2, it's going to be close, 3, 4, extremely close. You don't get much more than that to work with at the end. Now I'm going to lock it down with the red thread. Get that a little tight there. And we'll pinch that off here again. Pull that gunmetal thread tight. And then keep locking everything down. Using my burnishing tool for the red thread. Get a few more colors. Now remember, this is on my back side. This is on the bottom side of the rod. So this will be the top side right here. So you won't see that. You really won't see it anyways, because I think I did a pretty good job with the thread work there. But if you were concerned, you know, if you're doing long stuff and you had a working line, you want that working line to be on the bottom side. I'm just going to put a few more wraps of this red thread on here just to help hold that black and that gunmetal thread down. And I'll cut those working ends. So first one I'm going to cut that working end of that gunmetal color. Now we're going to cut that black. And again, go back with some more red. Cover up those end pieces. As I want to cut the first ends or the running ends of that black and that gunmetal color. So I want to take these, pull them to the opposite side, make a little gap. You see that gap is created. Cut the thread, and then push that back over the gap, and now you can't see it anymore. It hides that that spot where those threads were at. We're going to go ahead and pick up the pace a little bit, and I'll finish off this dragon scale wrap. All right. Okay, guys, so now I have all of the wrapping done for this kite rod. So the next thing we're going to do is the laying down the epoxy. So one of the things you can do is just make sure, one of the things I like to do, I like to take a piece of masking tape and then just kind of go across everything from cutting that drywall tape, that mud tape. You get a lot of these little end pieces of this stuff flying around everywhere. And so I just like to use this tape to go back and pick any of those little pieces up that are, from cutting that might have got on there or anything else. All right, I'm going to come back with the burnishing tool. Cover everything up, make sure everything looks good, and that's it. And so, like I said, the next thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and then we're going to start laying some epoxy down on the thread work that we've done. Okay. So, sorry, I got a little mask on, so it might be a little bit more difficult to hear me, but basically, we're going to be adding a 2-part epoxy. I use a heavy bond flex coat, what I like to use. So I'm just going to start applying this to the decorative wrap. So just start applying the epoxy here to the wrap. But you saw me, what I usually like to do is just go over any place I have tag wraps first with a coat, as you saw me do earlier. And then now just go over all the rest of the wrap. You'll notice that applying thread here to this, just a single wrap, this gunmetal color, is fairly easy. But when you get to things like the dragon scale, it can be quite, you notice that because you have the space in there created by the mesh tape, it will absorb your epoxy. So sometimes you may think you need a little bit more than what you probably are initially planning to use. So taking my time here, just getting the epoxy on. Again, this is a heavy coat, flex coat that I like to use. Let me know what you think. What's your, right down below, is there an epoxy coat that you prefer rather than flex coat? Like I said, I like flex coat. It's a pretty good product. Actually, it's a really good product. I've had nothing but success with it. Heavy build. I've used light build as well on some of my lighter stuff, ultralight rods and things like that. But yeah, comment below. Let me know, if you use something different. Let me know, and I might give it a go, give it a try. All right, so now I'm kind of getting to the halfway point, so I want to start back up here by the tip top. Start working back towards the center. All right. Slowly coming back towards the center. Again, if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think so far about this kite rod build. And if you like what you're seeing, hit the like button. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Get notified. Subscribe, to the channel. I really appreciate it. And 2, turn on the notifications so that way, I post a video every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Once you turn on those notifications, you'll get notified once that video goes live. And you'll be able to have, instant access to it before others do, or basically you'll know it's there and you won't have to search for it, or others will. I'm just trying to make sure I got all the spots covered with epoxy. So I'm just smoothing this out right now. Getting about to the point where I'm gonna switch off. All right, so I'm gonna set that down. All right, so now I'm gonna come back. Now I'm gonna put some heat on it. I'm just gonna use my alcohol torch. You can see I got my flame going. I'm just using my alcohol torch and applying the heat, and taking out all the bubbles. Help that epoxy get down inside that mesh tape for that dragon scale wrap. Okay, I can feel that heat a little bit. All right, and we're just going to let that rotate and let it go. And then, about 6 to 8 hours. Some people will say, 10 hours, 12 hours. When I get a rod on the dryer, I just let it go for 24 hours and I'll come back and then do what I need to do after that. So we're going to let this dry till tomorrow, and then I will come back and then we'll be adding some decals down here to this bottom portion, and then we'll get back on with a couple extra coats of epoxy over that. Okay.